You aim like an absolute bot when you really want to aim like tens? If you do, then you've come to the right place, and this won't be your generic aim guide you see so often. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys genuine advice that helped me hit Radiant over and over again. But to get perfect aim, the first step is always going to be finding the right sensitivity for you. And there's a pretty simple way I'd go about finding a good sensitivity. In Pro Play and Radiant Ranked, you'll find most players' sensitivities are pretty similar. Keeping that in mind, the average sensitivity of a pro player comes out to be around 0.35 in game with a 800 DPI. If your DPI is 1600, use 0.175 in game instead. And if it's 400, use 0.7 in game instead. Once you've got this sensitivity on, head into the range and try tracking one of the bot's heads while moving to see whether you can keep up with it or not. If you're going too fast, lower your sense a bit, and if you're going too slow, raise it a bit. Do this until it feels good for you. After that, just shoot around a bit and make sure you aren't over flicking or under flicking consistently. If you over flick, again, lower it by a bit, and if you under flick, raise it by a bit. And if you want to take a step further to min-max your sensitivity, I'd recommend watching your games back to find the inconsistencies in your aim. And the best way to record your games is by using Metal. Metal lets you record entire games, which means I can see what caused me to die or lose a round and what I can improve on when I want to watch them back, which is one of the most underutilized ways of improving. Or if you're more into just clipping, Metal also has an auto clipping feature that will automatically clip moments from your game using their event detection feature. Basically, if you have a sick play, Metal has your back. And if you want to listen to music while playing or have E-Data friends yapping in the background, don't worry, you can split your audio tracks on Metal to only record the game's audio, which is pretty convenient. And if you're worried about the quality of your clips, there's no need, since you can record or clip in up to 4K resolution and 144 FPS using Metal. Metal's already great, but what takes them to the next level is the fact they have a built-in editor and social platform, meaning you can edit your clips and tag your friends directly on Metal. If any of this sounds good to you, click the link in the description or pinned comment and download Metal today. Now let's get right back to the guide. Now that we have our sensitivity, I just want to talk about how broad of a term aim is. When you think of aim, you probably think of tens just flicking around and one-tapping everyone, but in reality, your aim should be also reliant on your crosshair placement. Having to flick everywhere isn't a good way to aim. Crosshair placement is basically the setup to hitting your shots. This is the main reason why you'll see a lot of people stuck in low elo brag about their crazy scores on Kovacs or aimlabs, because it doesn't translate to Valorant entirely the same way it would to another game like Apex Legends. Most of this game is about patience, crosshair placement, game understanding, and the best players don't really need to move their crosshair much to kill the enemies they're aiming at, because they've already set up the kill with their crosshair. A lot of people who complain about their consistency likely have their inconsistency stem from this exactly. With good crosshair placement, you should be able to perform in most games until higher elos. This leads up to the next question: how do you improve your crosshair placement, or in other words, your passive aim? There's a few answers to this, but first I want to talk about what helped me when I first started playing CS years ago, where crosshair placement is pretty similar. Back when I used to suck at CS, I would go into custom games to practice my crosshair placement by pre-aiming every corner I would turn. This helped me learn where to put my crosshair when I didn't really know much about the game, and that helped me a lot in the long run to learn early on. Next, I want to talk about having a warm-up or aim routine. Getting in a routine before you play can help you warm up and be precise with your crosshair placement, since a lot of it relies on you holding angles at head level and understanding where a player is going to be located on the map, or even where they're going to peek from. A simple practice routine I came up for this video starts by heading into the range, turning the bots on practice, and just shooting at the bots for a couple of minutes until you feel warm. After that, you'll want to practice your strafing for another 5 to 10 minutes on the practice bots. This is honestly the part that helped me the most mechanically. Strafing in gunfights is just so powerful. Once you feel warm, I'll either set the bots to strafe and practice shooting at them, or I'll do a couple of rounds of hard bots, but you can set these to medium if they're too fast for you as well. After that, I'd recommend heading into either a team deathmatch or deathmatch. I personally prefer regular deathmatch for this routine, specifically since team deathmatch isn't a great place to learn crosshair placement in my opinion. Regular deathmatch has all the maps you'll play in competitive, so it's a lot better to learn just for your muscle memory. Once you're in the deathmatch, you're going to want to practice holding angles at head level and then burst strafing after you've made contact if you don't kill them instantly. This is honestly the best habit you can build when it comes to aim, since it takes advantage of both your movement and your aim. Standing still is always going to be a disadvantage for you. you. But most importantly, you want to be moving your mouse as little as possible in these games and make crosshair placement a priority. You can play as many death matches as you want in this routine. Usually I'd play about 1 or 2, maybe a little bit more if I was grinding ranked, but playing just 1 will be fine as well. The great thing about this routine is it can last as little as 15 to 20 minutes or as long as you want it to. The most important thing is focusing on improving in the deathmatch rather than just winning the game. As for the next tip about aiming, it comes from understanding enemies' rotations and timings. If you ever watch a pro player play, you'll notice they tend to turn around at around the exact time an enemy could be turning a corner. This is called a timing, or an internal clock rather. You could think of it as them considering possibilities in their head and just knowing how long it would take for an enemy to be somewhere through instinct. There's no real way to train this, but what you can do to be more conscious of the enemy team's movements while you're in game and watching your games back to see how you're dying can help a lot with understanding timings too, especially if you're being caught off guard consistently. And finally, I want to talk about pre-aiming and how to do it properly. There's 2 types of pre-aims in Valorant. First, you have your aggressive pre-aims and your passive ones. Let's focus on aggressive first. Let's take Demon 1 for example. If you notice, his crosshair placement when he's peeking aggressively is almost at the edge of any wall he expects enemies to be at. This is because he knows he can be peeked at any time by an enemy, so pre-aiming through the wall for the next angle he's expecting would only put him at a disadvantage if he were to get peeked. This also gives him a slight buffer for his reaction time since his crosshair is already at where an enemy's head would be if they were to peek. If you do main duelist, I'd highly recommend watching some Demon 1 or Aspas games. Now, if you look at a player like Bang, who's just as impressive as Demon 1, except in a more methodical way, he tends to pre-aim most angles before peeking them. A lot of this can be attributed to him being on a support role instead of duelist in most games, meaning he usually has information on where enemies are before peeking a lot of the times. But just understanding when to use each type of pre-aim is really important for your crosshair placement. This pretty much sums up everything crosshair placement related that I wanted to talk about, but what about your mechanical aim? Mechanical aim refers to any flashy flicks you might hit or any situation where crosshair placement isn't going to help you. This type of aim can definitely be improved by using aim trainers like aimlabs, Kovacs, or more. Tons of people swear by them and there are great playlists out there, but the way I've always gone better with my aim is in the range, and team deathmatch and deathmatch in general is honestly great for practicing this type of aim since it always puts you in fights that don't require much crosshair placement other than aiming at head level. Team deathmatch can also help a lot with aggressive pre-aiming, and also I think training in game is really good because it also works on your movement. If you're a lower ranked player, you definitely need to work on that as well. I really like the hard bots in the range though. They can help with a lot of training this type of aim since it consists mostly of fast and precise movements. Another exercise I like to use is flicking from one head to another head in the practice spots in the range. Sometimes I turn this into a little game for myself and see how long I can go without missing. I'll be honest though, there are infinite tips I can give you guys about what to do to improve your aim, but I will say the absolute best thing you can do is just play the game while keeping your mind on improving. The biggest mistakes I see players make is thinking they're too good for the rank or always downplaying themselves or their teammates. If you're stuck in a rank, you're probably there for a reason. Staying humble and accepting the fact that you need to improve to rank up is something I wish a lot more players would take to heart. Another thing I commonly see is players dying to simple mistakes like over peeking or over rotating. One thing I'd recommend is every time you die, just think about a better way you could have played the round and take that into account the next time you're in a similar situation. If you need to, you should record your games and watch them back with emphasis on figuring out how you could have played your rounds better. The best path to getting better is being humble and focusing on improvement. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and feel free to leave any tips that you think I missed in the comment section below.